Can you imagine if you were that shop person watching this video, if you happen to watch the video?
I know.
Wow.
I'm sure some of them are.
Yeah. And anybody who watched this video would get in touch with, I can't tell whether it's a him or her, to say, hey, you interacted with a murderer.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. Have either of you ever interacted with a murderer before? I'm serious, that you know of.
I have. I don't remember. I'm trying to think of who specifically. I know I have, though.
Not when they were walking around free.
May I approach one last time?
Yeah.
You may.
Mr. Berlusconi, do you recognize this document?
I do.
Is this a receipt for the transaction that you just showed us videos of?
It is.
The Commonwealth would seek to have the receipt from TJ Maxx for January 4th from Norwell as the next exhibit.
Any objection?
Object.
The receipt that corresponds to Exhibit 263 is now in evidence as 264.
And Your Honor, may the Commonwealth
Publish it, yes?
publish it? I just want to make sure I caught it for the court reporter.
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Doesn't he have enough clothes so that he doesn't have to go out and buy some because he
Mr.
might...
Berlusconi, what is the address for this store?
It's 10 Washington Street, Norwell, Massachusetts.
And does this share a parking lot with another TJX store?
Yes, the home goods division.
And could we go all the way down to the bottom? Right there. Sir, how is this transaction conducted? Was it cash or charge?
It was a store value card used to make payment in this particular transaction.
And how much was the transaction for?
$133.94.
And going all the way down to the bottom, if we may, what was the date and time of the transaction?
January 4th, 2023 at 9:53:59 a.m.
Thank you, sir. No further questions. Your Honor.
So he was in the store for 9 minutes and
No
got all
problem.
that stuff.
Witness may step down. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, that's quick.
And it's peculiar. I mean, why? I understand buying the cleaning supplies and everything, but he doesn't need clothes. Obviously, he has other
May call
clothes.
next witness.
Why
Plus he
make
got-
one to buy clothes?
Well, maybe he just bloodied up all his other clothes.
All of them.
All of them.
The whole closet.
But maybe they cross-contaminated in drawers and the laundry. You know.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you'll give in the cause now in hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. You can be seated.
You just follow me, please, okay? Take your time, just watch your step. You can have a seat. Pull that chair a little tight.
Okay.
You-
Okay,
You may proceed.
thank you.
Comment.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Can you please state your full name for the record and spell your name? Yes, Alyssa Kirby, ALISSA
This is the friend
KIRB as in boy, Y.
that we think can talk
And
about
where
the
were you
relationship.
living in December of 2022?
I was living in Chevy Chase, Washington, D.C.
And were you familiar with Anna and Brian Walshe?
Yes.
And how were you familiar with the Walshes?
We were friends. I was introduced through my brother and sister-in-law.
And what's your brother's name?
Peter Kirby.
And so how would you characterize your relationship with Anna Walshe?
Yeah. Anna and I quickly became really close friends. And yeah, we were new best friends, we called it. And we spent a lot of time together. We just kind of clicked like sisters.
And when did you become so close?
Shortly after she moved to Washington, D.C. and lived nearby.
So you said she lived nearby?
Yes.
Can you tell us how far she lived from you?
About 5 minutes around the corner, 5-minute walk.
And how often would you see her when you, once she moved to Washington, D.C.?
I would say we planned to try to see each other about once a week. It wasn't always that, but about that.
And how often would you communicate with her?
Similarly, about once a week, or when she would come back to DC, we'd talk about when we could meet up and hang out.
And did you know Will Fastow?
I knew of him, yes.
And how did you know of Will Fastow?
Shortly after I started spending more time with Anna, she would talk to me about him as the man who sold her house, but then her interest in him and just hearing a lot about him as a person.
And what did she tell you about him?
She told me of that she was interested in him, that she had a crush on him, but it was a lot more talk about their connection and, like, I guess what she wanted to have happen with him and her, I guess, just her interest.
And what did she tell you about telling Brian Walshe about this crush on Will Fastow?
She told me that she was open with Brian about her crush on Will and that he knew.
In Christmas of 2022, did you have communication with Brian Walshe on that day?
Yes.
And how did that happen?
Brian called me that day, and because he rarely or almost never called me, I answered, and he was looking for Anna because he said he hadn't heard from her. And so because she lived around the corner, I offered to go over there and check on her.
And what happened? Did you go over and check on her?
As I was getting ready to go, he had messaged me back that he had gotten in touch with her.
So when you say that you had talked to him first and offered to check on her, did you do that in text, on the phone, or something else?
I believe that first time was a phone call, and then later it was a text message.
And do you remember what time of day that phone call was?
Not exactly, but maybe I feel like it was noon or early afternoon.
Okay. And what was his demeanor when you spoke to him on the phone?
That day, I think he was worried or a little bit nervous.
And approximately how long was it after you had spoken to him that he texted you?
I think it was within like 10 minutes because I was getting ready to go, and it was fast enough that I hadn't left yet.
And did you speak with Anna Walshe that day on Christmas Day?
Yes.
And when did you speak with Anna Walshe that day?
It was late, much later that day in the afternoon. I was already with family for the holiday, and she called me as she was driving up to Massachusetts.
And what was her demeanor when she called you?
She was very upset.
And when you say very upset, can you describe that?
Yeah, she was angry, and she was upset that Brian would have called me that day because, she said that she'd only not spoken to him for like an hour and a half or 2 hours, that it really hadn't been that long. And, there was already some strife, and then she had...
Sustained, non-responsive. So I'll strike the last part. Ask the next question.
Certainly. So how long did you speak with her for that day?
Maybe like 20 minutes.
And did you arrange to see her again?
Yes.
And when did you plan to see Anna Walshe?
I can't remember exactly when we planned it, but I know we had planned a day to get together right before New Year's to kind of see each other, hang out, catch up, and like celebrate like a New Year's together.
And did you see her to have that celebration?
Yes.
And what day was that you saw her to have that celebration?
I believe it was the 29th.
And that was the 29th of what month?
Oh, December.
Of 2022.
Correct.
And where did you go?
We went a few places. We started at the bar that was across from where we lived that we'd been to a few times. And then we later went out to a karaoke dancing bar.
And how long did you stay out that night?
Like 6 hours.
So what was her demeanor that night?
So that night, because of what happened after Christmas, she was really upset. She was kind of breaking down because everything had been really hard, which Anna was always a very strong person, so that was very unusual for her. And she was just really upset about so much. She really hit a breaking point. And yeah, we talked about a lot of things because she was so upset.
Ms. Kirby, can you tell me what she was upset about?
She was primarily upset about her and Brian's relationship, about being so far away from the kids, and feeling like she was upset having found out that the federal case was delayed, or she thought that the federal case was delayed by Brian, and that she just really wanted to be with her kids. Their marriage had been really strained for a long time, and she told me how like upset she was and how frustrating that was, and how she was really at a breaking point.
Jurors, I'm going to remind you that the statements that are being offered with regard to Anna Walsh's state of mind are admissible, again, limited to establishing her state of mind, as is relevant to the defendant's motive to kill. To the extent that such state of mind evidence includes statements describing the defendant's federal case, Anna's statements are admitted only to show the defendant's motive and not to show that he had a bad character or propensity to commit any criminal offense. You may proceed.
Thank you. Had you seen her like this before?
No. Anna was usually someone very, very happy, very joyful, very strong.
Okay, no characterizations, just your observations. Next question.
When talking, did she use specific words about what she had said to the defendant, which she had said to Brian Walshe about the legal case?
What she told me about that was that she was upset because she wanted him to take responsibility. She wanted their family together. She wanted that whole process to be over, and she wanted him to be responsible, be accountable, and do whatever he had to do to keep their family together.
And what did she mean? What did she tell you that she meant by the word responsibility?
Yeah, at that point in time, responsibility was potentially just taking jail time and admitting wrongdoing and just owning a mistake, and so that their family, that she would be waiting for them and that their family could be together.
Did she give you specifics of what she had told you about the amount of time?
I think it was all an estimate, but at the time she thought maybe a year.
What did she tell you about the physical separation and her family staying together?
I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask that well. What did she tell you about being in different states and what that physical separation might mean?
Yeah, that it was really difficult for the family, but that also, because of how difficult things were, she was contemplating what that could mean legally being able to take her children to Washington, D.C., and also the physical separation from a husband was very difficult for her.
What, if anything, did she tell you about having established a separate household?
Oh, that she had told me that everything was set up in her name, the house in Washington, D.C., and the bills were, everything was in her name. So she was trying to figure out a way that she could have the kids with her in D.C.
What, if anything, did she tell you about her intimate relationship with Brian Walshe?
She told me that, you know, aside from everything being really difficult, that they had not been intimate in a really long time, like maybe over a year, I think she had said.
And what did she tell you as to why?
She said it was because that Brian had been really depressed and that the strain of the case had really just taken a toll on his mental health and their marriage, and that she felt also that that her energy was being really drained. Yeah.
Was she specific about what she meant by her energy being drained?
Yeah, at that time, she was saying that Brian was calling her several times a day, that she felt physically and emotionally exhausted traveling back and forth from DC to Massachusetts. It was just a lot on her body, mind, soul, and spirit. And that, that also just like emotionally feeling like she had to be the strong one was very draining for her.
What did she tell you about Brian and his mother?
She had always said that.
Your Honor, objection. I'll see you at the side of the bench.
Wow, Joe Pituto learning a lot very quickly from Alyssa Kirby. She is a friend described as new best friends of Anna Walshe, most notably that Anna Walshe and Brian Walshe she had confided in Alyssa that they had not been intimate in over a year, that he was incredibly depressed, that Anna was incredibly angry, that he called Alyssa to look for Anna on Christmas Day, even though they had just talked about an hour and 15 minutes beforehand. This, to me, Joe, is the most damning testimony for Brian and his defense by far.
I agree.
She's emotional.
This is the strongest evidence so far about that goes to premeditation and his motive for what he did. It's been coming in softly by other witnesses.
In this conversation on December 29th, what did she tell you about Brian and his mother and a psychic?
She told me that Brian had told her that his mom went to a psychic and that the psychic had said that she was having an affair. And that night she told me how ridiculous that was and how like she was very upset by that. And she'd always felt that Brian's mom didn't like her and that it was scary.
Did she say why? Why that was scary?
Yeah, I think because she always.
Objection as to, I think. Yes, sustained.
Did she say why? Not your opinion, just did she say why in that conversation?
Yes, what she said as to why was that she felt like his mom never really liked her and never like wanted her in the picture, basically.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd ask to publish from one picture from Exhibit 145 on page 39.
It's already in evidence.
It is already in evidence,
You may
just the picture.
You may publish it.
Thank you.
This may have been the one that they were arguing about as to whether it should go in and what should be blocked out. The one they argued about was Anna with one or more of the boys.
You can tell how upset this woman is. Look at her. She's
Ms.
crying.
Kirby,
Look
do
at
you
her.
recognize that picture?
She's sobbing now.
Can you tell me who's that a picture of? Picture of me and Anna. And when was that picture taken?
That night we went out on the 29th.
I'm sorry, did you say that was the night from the 29th? That was during that night of December 29th.
It's not the one they were arguing about because she's not
Thank you,
blurred
Ms.
in that
Gilman. You
one.
can take that down. Did you see Anna Walshe after the evening of December 29th into December 30th, because you said you were out late, of 2022?
No.
When did, if you know, when did she leave for Massachusetts?
She left that next day on the 30th.
And when did you expect her to return to Washington, D.C.?
I think she had said like the third or fourth. It was a few days after New Year's. She was planning to come back.
Of January?
Correct.
Okay. And when was the last time that you communicated with Anna Walshe?
Right after midnight on New Year's Day.
And after that exchange with Anna Walshe on New Year's Day, right after midnight, did you get text from Brian Walshe?
Yes, on the 2nd.
Your Honor, I'd ask to get an exhibit and then approach.
You may.
I'm approaching with exhibit 164.
164.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
You want to just look at that for a moment. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And you can look through it all.
Okay. Okay.
And what are those?
Text messages between me and Brian.
Your Honor, may we publish exhibit 164 for the jury?
You may.
Thank you. So I'd specifically like to ask about on January 3rd, if we could go down. Can you read the on page 2. Can you read that in green?
Yes. It says, hello, I know we did this a week ago, but have you heard from Anna?
And how did you respond to that?
I said, hey, Brian, sorry for the delay. Was sleeping. I have the flu and I'm super sick. I texted with Anna on New Year's Day, but no, haven't heard from her. Is she working today? She's usually running around super busy with work.
And when did you send that?
It looks like on January 3rd at 12:51 p.m.
And then did Mr. Walsh respond to you?
He said, you're right. I'll let you know when she calls. Feel better soon.
And then did you contact him later?
After that, I said, thank you. Yeah. And then the next morning, I was sick, so I slept the whole day. And the next morning, when I realized I hadn't heard back, I texted him, did you ever hear back?
And then what happened?
And then he said, no, they're looking for her at work now. And that's when I got really scared that something was wrong.
So what did you do after hearing that?
After that, I called my brother and I asked if he had heard from her and was explaining the situation.
You're allowed to object at this point.
Well, we can stop the publication. I'm sorry.
Sustained.
So just tell me what you did. What did you do?
Oh, after the text message, I called my brother and
That's fine.
Okay.
That's all. And then what did you do after calling your brother? Did you speak with Brian Walsh at some point on the phone?
I did, but I don't remember if it was later that day or the next day on the phone.
And who was on the phone with Brian Walsh?
There were some calls that was just me and Brian, and there was one call with Brian and his mother.
And what was the call with Brian and his mother like?
Well, his mother was pretty combative. I think she sounded.
You approach sidebar? Yes.
Here we go. So now she's getting into a call where the mother, a lot of people are commenting in the chat. It does sound like quite a dysfunctional relationship between mother and son, although I probably should not be one to talk. I like the pink thermos there. Joe, I just want to put a little bow on what you were saying earlier, but this does seem to be sort of the star witness right now for the Commonwealth, really underscoring the fact that there was major strain in the marriage, that it was before New Year's Day. Some of these interactions were happening on Christmas Day when he was looking for Anna, and then you heard him reaching out again. I believe it was on 1-3 or 1-4 where he said, I know we did this a week ago. Now he's looking for Anna, and essentially setting up the alibi. And you can see from the expression on her face how pained she is, particularly when they showed that photo of Anna and Alyssa on the last night they were together. But very powerful stuff.
Yeah, and there's that little germ of an idea that I think the prosecution is trying to plant, that when Brian Walshe called Alyssa on the 25th and said he hadn't heard from Anna, and I don't know how, for a long period of time, I don't remember exactly how long she said, that Anna called her really upset about it because she said, we only talked an hour and a half ago, which I think they're trying to plant the seed here that he did a rehearsal of this, before anything happened, suggesting that she had been out of touch for a while.
Yeah.
And the idea that Anna would have been that angry that he had done that is also interesting. In fact, she called her friend back and said, friend said she was really angry, saying, I only talked to him an hour and a half before. So I think that's a kind of an interesting little piece of information that the prosecution just planted there. Again, going to what was on his mind and also going towards premeditation.
Brian looks like a mopey preschooler here right now. But Margaret, same question. Is this the most powerful witness for the Commonwealth up to this point?
Yes, and I think she's going to be last. I wouldn't be surprised. And going on what Joe just said, I completely agree with you, Joe. I also am wondering if the Commonwealth is planting the seed that Brian can also be desperate, controlling, possibly jealous, because that's kind of the way those people act
Right.
when they're losing control and they're losing someone. They get desperate.
Right. And you also have the information that the mother had the psychic who said that Anna Walshe was having the affair. I know it's coming from a psychic, but nonetheless, it is also maybe just a tiny piece, but at least a little piece that Brian Walshe was getting information that his wife was having an affair.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
also very helpful, I think.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Margaret, she also gets in the fact that they had not been intimate in over a year, and then goes on to say that Brian had been depressed over the art fraud issue, that her energy was being drained, that the kids were far, and she was basically at a breaking point. And you have to assume that part of the reason she was at a breaking point is because Brian was, one of the catalysts for that is constant, probably, complaining about the federal case, and his overbearing nature may have been doing that to her.
I think so. It had to be draining when you start a new job like that, plus at a high salary of $300,000. That's going to be a demanding job. And to commute back and forth and go on the airplanes. And according to my sources here, in fact, someone close with the witnesses testifying now, Alyssa, they say that Anna was actually loved her boys, and she was a good mother, and she would bring them to these play dates and things like that. And I think it was a real strain on her as a loving mother to have to deal with Brian in his court. And if she was planning to get a divorce from him, it's hard to take your children out of state. But the fact that he was going to go to jail would probably help her cause.
Yeah. And Joe, what do you think was going on here at the very tail end? She's talking about how she got on a call with Brian and his mother. The mom became combative, and that's where they called it for sidebar.
Yeah, it's another characterization by her of what led her to the conclusion. So that certainly was part of it. I don't know if they're also claiming it's not relevant. I think it is, but it's potentially that's another claim they're making.
Going back for just a moment on the 29th, did Anna ever tell you how Brian reacted to his mother saying, the psychic saying that she was having an affair?
Yeah, she told me that he thought it was equally as crazy, or that was what he said to her.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
I'm going to swap out one and give you another. Recognize that jacket.
Yes.
Can you tell me what?
Just stay on the microphone so we can hear you.
Sorry. Can you tell me how you recognize that jacket?
As Anna's jacket, one that she wore.
Your Honor, I'd ask that this be the next exhibit.
All right. Any objection to that?
None, thank you.
Jurors, that'll be marked into an evidence as Exhibit 264 photo of Anna. The jurors, the face of Anna Walshe is blurred out for that photo, but there's no dispute that that is a photo of her in the jacket,
I'll be back in
in
1
a
minute.
jacket.
So why? I guess it's blurred because she's saying it's on his
Thank you.
jacket. But
265? Oh, yes. Thank you.
265.
265, yes.
And I'd
I was muted.
to the jury, Your Honor.
You may.
Yeah, she probably has to say that independent of it
Right.
being Anna wearing it.
does that look like an outdoor jacket to you?
What kind of jacket?
An outdoor jacket, not a
Yeah.
dress jacket.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does. And they blurred the face a little too late there. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And that's the jacket that they found in
Ross?
the trash.
Thank you.
Yes. So Brian was smart enough to put together an outfit he would have worn to work and throw it in the
It
trash.
sounds like you and Anna got very close very fast.
Yes.
When she was down there, you guys would try to see each other about once a week?
This is the call.
Yeah.
Okay. And while she was down there, she was working for Tishman Speyer.
Yes.
And obviously, you would text or talk on the phone sometimes during the week
Yes.
and sometimes go for coffee walks around the neighborhoods.
Not coffee, but often walks or we would meet up. Yeah.
I'm imposing my own desire. And okay. And her work schedule was pretty demanding while she was down in DC.
Yes.
And it wasn't uncommon that she would work until 7 or 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that was what she would tell me. Yes.
Okay. And then on top of that, she was flying back and forth to Boston on Thursdays or Fridays and returning on Sunday nights or Mondays.
Yeah, often Mondays and then returning Thursday or Friday.
Okay. I want to talk to you a little bit about that Christmas Day phone call from Mr. Walshe.
Okay.
You had mentioned that it was not common or out of the ordinary for him to have called you.
Yes.
Okay. And I think you described him on that call as nervous and worried, right?
Yes.
And this was Christmas Day.
Yes.
And I think you told us it was about noon or a little bit past noon when he had reached out to you.
Mhm.
And what he said is that he and the boys were expecting her home for Christmas and he hadn't heard from her.
What I recall he said was just ask me if I had heard from her because he hadn't heard from her.
Okay. And because of that nervousness or worry in his voice, you actually offered to go swing by her house to see if she was there.
Yeah, I thought that she was already back home for Christmas. And so that worried me. So I offered to go over.
Okay. And I think you said within 10 or 15 minutes, he actually reached out to be like, we're good. She reached out to me. She's okay.
He said he had heard from her.
Okay. You had told us that you had also spoken to Anna on the 25th on the telephone.
Yes.
And you were telling us that she was angry and upset that Mr. Walshe had called you.
Yes. She was angry that, he had bothered me that day with that because she felt it had not been that long since they had spoken.
Okay. So it was Christmas Day and she was upset that he bothered you on a holiday
Mm-hmm.
and that he worried you.
Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned that Anna had a friend named William Fastow.
Yes.
Okay. And I think you told us that she shared with you that she had a crush on him.
Yes.
And she told you that she told her husband that she had a crush on him.
Yes.
And that Anna, when she was talking about sharing that with her husband, that they always had an open, honest relationship.
Yes. That was what she said.
Okay. And in that conversation, when she was telling you about how she had told her husband about having a crush on Will, that Brian wasn't the jealous type.
When she told me that, I was surprised, and she said that was the relationship. They were open, and that he wasn't jealous.
And not only was he not jealous, that she kind of wished he was a little more jealous.
I think in the way that a wife would want a husband to be protective. Yes.
Okay. And during the time you were friends in DC with Anna, and during these conversations, she never told you that she was having a romantic relationship with Will Fastow.
Not specifically, no. We talked a lot about Will, but not that anything had ever actually happened.
Okay. So you believe that they had a connection and she had a crush, but she never told you that they had been romantic or intimate.
Correct.
I think you had said that during this conversation on the 29th, Anna had said that lately she was just feeling drained of energy, right?
Drained of energy just due to everything going on. Yeah.
Okay. And she had also told you that she was someone that would stay up late and get up early in the morning, right? I think she kept a busy schedule, not that she specifically always stayed up late and got up early, but that, you know, she was doing a lot and she just was a very energetic, passionate person.
And towards the end of December, there was a shift. There was a change in that.
Yes.
And she told you that she was falling asleep earlier and getting up later, and that was unusual for her.
Yeah, that she was really just starting to be sad and everything was taking a toll on her. Yeah.
Okay. And it was when she was reporting this to you, she was talking about how even sleep, that she was falling asleep earlier, falling asleep earlier in the night. She was sleeping later in the morning than she usually would.
I don't recall that exactly, just that she said that she felt so tired and burnt out.
Okay. You had mentioned that you had plans to get together on 12/29, but you also had plans to go out on December 20th, the week before.
I don't think I remember that exactly.
Okay.
We often would try to make plans and then things would shuffle. So,
okay. The plans I'm talking about on the 20th, she had canceled because she wasn't feeling well.
right. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
You shared with us during that long night out with Anna that the two of you were talking a lot about how it was difficult that she was away from her family. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I'll apologize. And she told you that she said to Brian, you know, you need to resolve this. Even if you go to jail, we'll be here for you when you get out.
She didn't specifically say like this, then this. It was more like a conversation about taking responsibility, accountability, what that would mean, that could mean just owning it and taking the jail time if that was what, because the sentencing hadn't happened. So we didn't know exactly what it would be, but that was something she wanted for him to take care of their family in that way and just take responsibility, have it be done.
And I think you told us earlier on direct that she said to him, we'll be there even if that happens, meaning her and the boys.
And I don't think she said that directly. It was more like communicating to me that she wanted their family to be together, even if that meant
Okay.
jail time. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think they were still figuring out like what to do. They'd been living apart and she wasn't sure what would happen.
And so what you're telling us is that she wanted her family together.
Mm-hmm.
And that she wanted him to do whatever it took so that her and Brian and the boys could be together.
Yeah.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Ms. Kirby, did she want her family together?
Objection, Your Honor.
We didn't hear the question.
Stated it, she can answer it. So rephrase the question.
On December 29th, did she tell you, did she want her family together?
I think
Objection, Your Honor.
All right, listen to the question, answer the question if you can.
On December 29th, what did she tell you about if she wanted her family together?
she said that she wanted her family together. She also was exhausted and not really sure what to do, but I think she wanted her.
As to, I think. All right. Sustained.
On December 29th, what did she tell you about if she loved the defendant, Brian Walshe?
She told me that he would often not tell her he loved her and would always ask her how much she was in love with him. And that she told me that this time she answered not as much because of everything that had happened. And yeah, that she was falling out of love, and also that she wanted I think she saw.
Objection, Your Honor. As
Again,
I think she saw.
I know it's a long time ago, but it has to be the statement she made to you, not what you think
Okay.
or what you understood from it. It's statements that she made to you.
Okay. Sorry. And on December 29th of 2022, how did she physically appear to you?
Tired.
And on December 29th of 2022, did you go out to karaoke?
Yes.
And did she go dancing?
Yeah, it was karaoke dancing.
Thank you.
Any recross?
No, thank you.
The witness may step down. Thank you. Counsel at the side of the bench.
Perhaps the final sidebar before the Commonwealth rests here. Joe Pituto, just really powerful stuff. Very good witness, very emotional, and giving us insight into the final days of what was going on between Brian and Anna.
And I thought the defense did, a pretty good job of trying to mute some of the statements about Anna in the relationship. But boy, on the direct, she came back really strong. He's asking her, do you love me? Which suggests that he's not confident in the relationship. And Anna answers, not as much. And she tells her friend she's falling out of love with him. But that's a powerful way for the prosecution to end with this witness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She definitely, if she is the final witness, just brought this home and is leaving these jurors in a very impactful way before this guy may testify tomorrow. Margaret, how about you? She had a lot to say in a little bit of time.
No, she was an excellent witness for the Commonwealth. And I do think that what the defense was trying to get at in some of those questions was, the amount of stress, and she wasn't feeling well leading up to the 31st. So trying to plant the, seed of maybe she did die suddenly in her sleep with all the stress and she wasn't getting her sleep and all that stuff. So maybe if they tried to touch on the health issue.
That's interesting. Here's a sort of a lawyerly question about technique. I'll throw this to Margaret. Why are the prosecution and judge not telling the defense attorney to stop cutting off the witness? You do have to let them finish their statement, don't you?
I completely agree with that. Yeah, I was wondering the same thing myself. I think if I were the Commonwealth, I would have said, hey, let her finish the answer, or let especially they did that to Jem Mutlu. So, let him finish. Let him finish, Your Honor. I agree. Great observation.
Except to the extent that what they think is an answer that's going to be ultimately inadmissible. And then you've got to stop it before.
Yeah, that's true too.
Otherwise, what is it? The cat is out of the bag.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what happened each time, but there were at least a couple of times that they were cutting her off before she said what they didn't want the jury to hear.
Yeah.
On the, thinking that the jury would not be allowed to hear it.
Right. Yeah, they cut her off quite a bit, both of them.
Federal prosecution, Brian Walshe.
Oh,
Brian Walshe was arraigned in the United States District Court for the District of Massachusetts in Boston, Massachusetts on May 11, 2018. April 1st, 2021, Brian Walshe pled guilty to indictments for wire fraud, interstate transportation for a scheme to defraud, and conducting an unlawful monetary transaction. On October 6, 2021, an initial sentencing hearing took place in the United States District Court. Brian Walshe was seeking a sentence of probation and restitution, while the government, through the United States Attorney's Office, was seeking a sentence which included incarceration of 30 to 37 months, restitution in the amount of approximately $475,000. January 2023, Brian Walshe had not been sentenced on the federal charges. Brian Walshe was represented by a lawyer in all stages of this federal case. Commonwealth may call the next witness.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth rests.
oh,
Thank you.
I knew it.
They rested in the right place.
Jurors, I told you that this case proceeds in chapter. That chapter of this case is closed. That is, the Commonwealth has presented all the evidence that it wishes to present in this case. As I've told you from the beginning, there is no obligation, no burden on the defendant to do anything. And so I remind you of that. The burden does not rest with the defendant. All the burden of proof is always on the Commonwealth, and it stays always on the Commonwealth. The defendant has the option to present evidence if he wishes to. I'm going to suspend the hearing for today, and we'll see you back tomorrow at 9 o'clock, ready to begin the day. Thank you very much. And before we leave, I remind you, don't do any research about this case. Don't go on social media or any news media. Don't speak to anyone about this case, and continue to have open minds as you receive the evidence in this trial. Have a good night, jurors.
If there's anything, all rise. First, please leave your notebooks in the chairs. Watch your step.
Good night.
This guy has no reason to be happy right now.
I know.
What
Yeah.
a psycho. Let's just see if the judge has a final word or two here.
Well, the defense should bring its motion for a directed verdict. Maybe they'll do it at this time. I don't know.
Yeah.
We can't possibly think it went well today.
No.
No.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
What do we need to discuss?
First, we probably need to discuss, and that would move for required finding and not guilty.
Go right ahead.
And, Chief and Sheriff.
Give me a second to read your pleading.
Tim Jansen's daughter's wedding is this weekend. That's where he's been.
All right, I'll hear from you.
For the most part, Judge, I'm just going to rely on that pleading, but what's important in this case, for purposes of arguing the Lattimore standard and the required finding, is that in the facts and circumstances of this case, even if you consider all of the evidence in the light most favorable to the Commonwealth, that the circumstantial evidence and the inferences have not been proven on the elements of premeditation and intent. And it's important to distinguish the fact that where inferences can be reasonable when they have to do with other factual issues that do not constitute the specific elements of the crime charged, here, the inference must be beyond a reasonable doubt because it must support the element of premeditated murder, and it must support the specific intent to kill. And whereas the Commonwealth has based their whole prosecution on what we characterize as a three-pronged approach, that motive evidence that they theorize supports an inference of intent and premeditation, they have failed to present the type of quantity and quality of evidence that would then result in an inference beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Walshe ever premeditated a murder or ever manifested the specific intent to kill. The three-prong approach that the Commonwealth took in this case was that Mr. Walshe was motivated by financial interest, which has not been established by any inference sufficient to carry the day, even on the Lattimore standard. The second prong is that somehow Mr. Walshe was using his children and his role as primary care provider to avoid going to prison. And that has not been established by any sufficient evidence. And then there's the third prong, and it has to do with the affair. And where it seems clear that the Commonwealth has established that Anna Walshe did, in fact, engage in an intimate affair with William Fastow, they have failed to establish sufficiently to withstand a Lattimore standard that he even knew about the affair. In fact, if you consider the evidence in the light most favorable to the Commonwealth from their own witnesses, there is no evidence presented to this jury that he knew about the affair, that he reacted to any knowledge of the affair. And in fact, the reaction that he had fell far short of someone that was even jealous of the fact that Ms. Walshe reported to him specifically that she had a crush on Mr. Fastow. And I understand, we understand that whereas motive is not an element, that's not what we're arguing. And I say in our motion that if the government stands up and says since motive is not an element, that the argument that we just made doesn't apply. Well, that misses the point, because that is the whole foundation of their prosecution in this case. And so respectfully, Judge, in the unusual circumstances and the complex circumstances presented in this case, I would ask that a required finding be entered on indictment 001.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Viewed in the light most favorable to the Commonwealth, the evidence is sufficient for a jury to find the defendant guilty of the premeditated murder of Anna Walshe. Your Honor, as to evidence that the defendant killed Anna Walshe, the defendant was the only adult in the house on January 1st after Mr. Mutlu left. There's evidence before the court that Anna was a fit and active 39-year-old, and in fact that she participated in a vigorous exercise class at Bar Method on the 31st of December, where she demonstrated that she was in good physical condition. Evidence of the bloody slippers, bloody bath towels, bloody carpet, on his broken Gucci necklace, combined with the defendant's internet searches about cleaning blood from wood floors, his purchase of large quantities of cleaning products, are sufficient for the jury to find that Anna met a violent death in the living quarters of 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. I also point out there was a cut on the defendant's thumb, and there was evidence that he did purchase Band-Aids and some antibiotic cream on January 1st. As to deliberate premeditations, there's evidence that the defendant was aware of Anna's relationship with another man. He told police that he monitored the Chase credit card statement. That is an evidence before the court. That statement includes a purchase of a plane ticket to Dublin and Thanksgiving over the Thanksgiving holiday in 2022. The defendant was aware of Anna's itinerary. He told police that he had suggested that she go out during a layover in Frankfurt, which she did have a layover in Frankfurt at one point of that travel. And again, looking at that travel, it's clear that looking at the Chase statement that it was indicated a trip to Dublin. And the defendant told police that she had only gone to Serbia to see her mother. And I suggest the evidence is more than sufficient to find that he was aware of that trip to Dublin. He also searched Will Fastow's name on December 25th. And he also researched emergencies in buildings that Anna managed in D.C. I'd also point out that the defendant's phone, which he said was mislaid from December 31st to January 2nd, he told Mr. Mutlu that when Mr. Mutlu came for the New Year's Eve dinner. That phone was repeatedly unlocked and connected to a power source while it was supposedly missing. The evidence indicates that the defendant used that phone to create an alibi for himself. It explains why he was not contacting Anna. And then when he did say he recovered the phone, he started sending text messages to Anna, and he later showed those messages to police. It suggests he was using the missing phone as a way to create an alibi for himself. And to explain why there was he didn't have the phone with him when he went to Vin and Liquors and threw something into the dumpster. or when he was in Lowe's buying cleaning supplies and cutting tools on January 1st. Your Honor, there's also ample evidence of motive. There's evidence that the jury can find that if Anna took the children to D.C., the possibility of the defendant avoiding jail time on the federal charges would lessen. We heard testimony today about the impact of that on Anna and what she intended to do. Anna also had life insurance policies and financial accounts, which the defendant was the named beneficiary, and he stood to inherit substantial funds if Anna Walshe were deceased. And also, Your Honor, the defendant's elaborate web of lies regarding Anna allegedly leaving for a work emergency in D.C. He lied to friends, family, and the police about that. I suggest that that also is sufficient evidence to give this case to the jury, and would ask that you deny that motion for required finding of not guilty.
All right. The Latimer standard dictates that I take every inference, all the evidence and all the reasonable inferences from that evidence in the light most favorable to the Commonwealth. Adopting that standard, I'm not convinced by the defendant's motion. I'm not going to repeat the evidence that the Commonwealth has just, in brief, summarized for the court. That evidence that this jury has heard and seen is adequate to allow the jury to deliberate the case, in that, again, drawing all the inferences, reasonable inferences from the evidence that's before this jury, there is sufficient evidence for this case to go to the jury for them to determine the three elements that are before them. But it gets over the Latimer standard. So the defendant's motion is denied.
We would just object to the record.
I understand. You indicated to me at the side of the bench there were some evidentiary issues you wanted to address with me.
There are. Can we go to the sidebar for these, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
All right. Another sidebar while we are waiting for that. Let me start with Margaret here. Margaret, people are asking why at that point in particular, and this is before the Commonwealth rested, the judge, Diane Frenier, was reading essentially the arraignment for his art fraud case. Why then? And how come that didn't happen earlier, I guess?
Yeah, I'm surprised it didn't happen earlier, but the judge must have made a decision to that's simply when she was going to read it, or maybe there must have been an argument prior to or at sidebar that we weren't privy to, but it did have to come into evidence clearly, his federal conviction. So,
Yeah.
But boy, that was a great. That was a great motion argument by the prosecution, and that's what we're going to hear in the closing arguments.
Yeah, he better just write it down and track it.
Yeah, I mean, Margaret, and then I'll get to Joe, but that argument just now by the Commonwealth, I assume that they were either prepared with that statement, knowing that there was going to be this motion for a directed verdict, or they were just kind of preparing it today. Like, when do you prepare something like that? Because it was point, one after the other.
That would have been prepared even before the trial, begins, because that's an important part of the defendant's case. So in just about every single solitary case I ever prosecuted, no matter how strong it was, the defense would get up and make a motion for a directed verdict just because, and I've really never seen one that was allowed. So that would mean that they take it in the light most favorable to the Commonwealth. So even if everything the Commonwealth says, all their testimony, all their evidence is true, according to the law, the case must be dismissed, and the judge can do that without sending it to the jury. But, so there were some valid arguments about intent and premeditation, but there was certainly enough evidence for the judge to say, no, we're going to leave that to the fact finder, the jury.
Yeah. Joe Pituto, there's a question from Carson Hunter. Is this too harsh? The state had 3 years Why does it look like the witnesses were not prepped for trial? I thought this last witness was great. Maybe with Sam or Jem Mutlu, they could have, I don't know, helped him along a little bit. But is this comment a harsh critique?
Yeah, I think it is. I think they were prepped. I was surprised, and I said so, that that Jim Mutlu had not read the this the information with regard to the interview that he had done with law enforcement. That surprised me a lot because it would have at least refreshed his memory of what he said 3 years ago. But that aside, the witnesses were prepped, and I don't know if we're looking at Mutlu in particular, I don't know how much it would have helped his trial testimony for them to try, excuse me, to get him to understand what he could testify to and what he could not testify to. He just honestly didn't understand it. He didn't understand it the number of times that the judge told him. He didn't understand it when the prosecutor told him. He was perplexed every time they said, don't characterize, just tell us what she said, because then we heard, well, it was 3 years ago. Look at the other statement. So I don't know that would have helped. I helped on a murder trial years ago where there was a prosecution witness. The defendant had actually killed 3 people, but the other 2 murders couldn't come in. And they prepped that witness. I can't tell you how many times. You can't mention the other 2 murders. And he got on the stand, and virtually with the first question that the prosecutor asked, we heard that there were 3 murders. It wasn't that they didn't try. And it wasn't that he was doing it deliberately. He just couldn't understand. So I'm sorry, Joe, that's probably a long way of answering this, but I think they tried to prep Mutlu, and it just just couldn't take. And the others, I think, were prepped. They answered honestly. The things that inured to the benefit of the defense, they said, and that's what they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to go in trying to cook their testimony to only show one side. And it turns out to be effective with a jury when a witness proceeds that way.
Jem Mutlu, I mean, he's in a tough spot, and he seemed very analytical to it, in the sense that he wanted to answer the questions totally correctly, with just answer the questions, and that made him, I think, overthink the process a little bit. But I still think he was pretty effective. You've got Raff and Roffer here with now the lingering question from Margaret. Why do you think, and both the professors, former professors, current, retired, whatever you want to say, why do you think Brian is going to testify he will demolish himself? So, Margaret, do you still think we see him on the stand as soon as tomorrow? And will he get eviscerated the minute he opens his mouth?
I think he will get eviscerated. Absolutely. But knowing Brian, just look at him. We're looking at him now. He's going to want to testify. He's going to want to say what happened. And even though his attorneys are likely advising him not to testify, and that he still has the right not to testify. But I think he will. I could be wrong, but he's going to want to get up and tell his side of things because he thinks he's all that. He's a little cocky.
Yeah, he
doesn't
sure
look
is.
as cocky right now, but in Home Depot and in TJ Maxx and Home Goods, I thought he looked a little sure of himself.
Yeah, a couple of minutes ago, he was smiling with a smirky grin. And I've always heard criminal defense attorneys say that they tell their clients, do not smile, be stoic, do not show emotion one way or the other, because they are always watching you. And if we're seeing him on a tight shot on camera, you can bet that the jurors are seeing that as well. Joe Pituto, let me ask you, what do you think? And we're waiting on the sidebar here, so we might get cut off. By the way, the Commonwealth rested its case at 3:04, exactly 20 minutes ago, Eastern time. What do you, up to this point, I mean, I think the witness, this Alyssa Kirby, the friend, is by far the strongest witness. What do you think is the strongest evidence against, I'm talking physical evidence, against Brian Walshe right now?
Going to premeditation in particular?
Yeah, let's do it that way.
physical evidence. You're talking about tangible, pick up, hold in your hand
Yeah,
evidence?
the video, whether it's the video or, you know, the wire cutters, what do you think is the toughest stuff that will play against him with the jurors?
Well, I think all of it will, but if I had to pick something, it would be the hacksaw, which just looks horrendous, and the hammer combined with the witness statement that they found clotted blood, a clotted hair on it, which just gives you this terrible picture of what occurred. But otherwise, I don't know that I would say it's any one particular piece of the evidence. It's the cumulative effect of all of it. I said, you know, the other day when those brown bags were coming out with the evidence with the red tape, that I just thought using the red tape was just great because it made me think of blood each time. And it's just that mound of it. And the other thing I hope they do, which I think would be really, really effective, is to do a timeline where he's saying one thing or doing one thing, and then we see his trips to the stores and his trips to the trash locations. I just think that would be a picture for the jury of just how diabolic all this is.
Yeah. Abbey Crossing, ever the humorous one. Here's to Costco getting through unscathed. They were not mentioned. Costco, you get a little gold star for best retailer in this murder trial for not being mentioned. Let's see here. What about, Margaret, the video elements, the video surveillance in the closing arguments, which are going to happen fairly soon. I mean, after it could be as soon as Friday potentially, but in those closing arguments, are we going to see them play? And I'm talking about the Commonwealth, the surveillance videos again. Are we going to see all that just to remind the jurors?
It's possible that we will see some of that. I think they should use more video evidence in the closing arguments. They didn't use any props at all in the opening statements, which obviously it's not evidence yet, but at least a picture of Aunt Anna, I think, should have been used. I just think you're right. They have to stress, the Commonwealth, the cumulative evidence here that goes to motive and intent and premeditation. So looking at the whole thing together, of course, they're going to anticipate what the closing is going to be for the defense. We just heard it.
And Joe, going back to
Margaret.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, will the judge give them a time limit on the closings?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
I don't know if she will. It's possible. I'm not sure what this judge will do. I can't imagine either one of them going on and on and on and on. They didn't seem to in the opening statements, so I imagine she'll just let them go.
Okay.
It's a good question.
Yeah, Joe, to you, do you think the prosecution has proved this, for this first degree murder, it is linked to premeditation? You were going to say, in terms of premeditation, what do you think is the best evidence, Joe?
I think the best evidence is really, let me think about this a little. I think it's really his queries, the statements about the divorce and where can you get where's it best for a man to get a divorce? The comments about Anna Walshe dead on the 25th. And there are more of them like that because they're coming from him and they're really hard to explain. But I think what's going to happen is it's the three things. It's the money piece, and it's the knowing that having a suspicion that she's going to leave him, get the boys, and he's going to end up in jail, as part of it. And I think it's his ego that's the other part. But I do think, I'm trying to think about it, I really do think, I'd like to hear what Margaret thinks, but I think for me, it's the things that point to it that he said himself, or that he emailed himself, or he texted himself.
Margaret, how about that? I mean, in strictly the premeditation, is there something that stands out to you as a juror, as a lawyer, where you would say, more as a lawyer right now, where you think it plays into the premeditation factor?
Yes, those 3 Google searches where he mentioned the word murder. So I think that they're going to hang their hats on that specifically.
And those were, I'm sorry, those were prior to the first, the three.
No, there were no Google searches like that prior to the first, but this was
Okay.
after, the first. But
Uh-huh.
most of the Google searches, you could say, were about dismembering a body, but there were 3 of them that mentioned something like, how do you dismember a body after a murder? So the word murder was used like 3 times.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's telling as far as the strongest evidence of premeditation. And remember, reflection, premeditation doesn't have to be long. I think that jurors can piece together all the circumstantial evidence and then picture that after Jem Mutlu left, they probably got into quite a fight. And he, I think he, his story just doesn't make sense. Otherwise he would have called 911 that she was found in her bed. But I'm putting everything together. He seems like he's getting more controlling, more jealous, based on what the last Alyssa Kirby said. And then it culminated at some point on New Year's Eve. Maybe she said, listen, I got to leave you. This just isn't working. And boom, he exploded and killed her.
I think it was a perfect storm too, in terms of, you heard from the friend, she was at an absolute boiling point, but it appears that he was at a boiling point too, feeling like he was about to lose everything. And it's the clash of the boiling points, and it ends up in a horrible, horrific murder and the dismemberment. Joe, if Brian Walshe decided not to testify, how would the defense's opening regarding his guilty pleas be included by either side? How did they?
Yeah, that gets messy because the privilege against self-incrimination, which specifically goes to you cannot comment if the defendant does not get on the stand, is read to be broader than that. And it covers comments such as, you didn't hear any evidence in the case about. And that being true, you have 2 things that are happening. One, the defense lawyer said it, and he also recited what the defense would be, which is not evidence. And the prosecution having a right to have something said to the jury about that defense didn't fly. So my guess would be that the judge will give the jury some instruction on it, but it will be a mild instruction. She may emphasize that you can only decide this case on what you heard witnesses on the stand say, what the evidence that was introduced at trial, rather than some direct reference to, you didn't, the defense lawyer said he was going to say something. And the prosecutor really won't be able to refer to it either without getting very close to a line that would turn out to be reversible error.
Yeah. By the way, again, quick programming note. Sorry to cut you off there.
That's
Joe,
okay.
But Joe is doing a full wrap up, 5 Eastern. We don't have a late show today. I was invited. Julia Janae, who's a friend and excellent on Court TV, she launched a new show. They asked me. I'm honored to do it at 7 o'clock. So I'm doing that. And then I'll be on Josh Ritter's Courtroom Confidential immediately following that. Let's take a listen to the end here.
So I think that we all have our tasks for the evening, and I'll see you back tomorrow. Anybody need anything? All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And that's a wrap. On the same day that the Commonwealth wraps its case, Kingdom within us. We'll just go a couple more minutes here because we got a lot in there. My gut tells me that Brian saw the boyfriend's text on New Year's and snapped. I mean, Margaret, it's always the why, right? Like, how did this happen? The why did this happen? I'm curious myself. How did this play out? Because Mr. Mutlu was there on New Year's Eve. I don't recall exactly what time he left, but obviously after he left, something happened, and whatever it wasn't good. And then no one really heard from she or Brian for a few days until Brian started calling with us, I guess, his alibi to ask if they knew where his wife is, right? But that curiosity is always there about how it went down.
Yeah, and somebody in chat just reminded me that Anna's necklace was broken.
Yep. I forgot
Something
about that
more
too.
should have been made of that, or maybe it will be made of that in closing argument. I mean, that's a big deal. So he threw away what he thought she'd be wearing, the hunter boots and the jacket, and that ended up in the trash in Peabody. But what do you think to break the necklace? There must have been a struggle. So that right there might be something that the jurors will hold, or at least one juror will pick up on and say, that necklace was broken. There must have been a struggle. So, plus the words murder used later on in his Google searches, but that necklace might be more significant, than I thought. Great observation.
Yeah, I agree. I saw that and I completely forgot. Another question here: where were the boys? I guess that they were asleep. And listen, little kids, I can't get them to bed, but once I get my kids to sleep, they're out. Tough to wake them up. A 6-year-old was driving me crazy last night. It's always a battle. And then you look over and finally they're out. And it's like, you can breathe. But parenthood it's bliss all the time. Don't you guys look at Instagram? Life is bliss. There's never a difficult moment ever. Here we go. This is the question probably to end on from Martha. Professor Joe, does it look like Brian will testify tomorrow? Is he going to go back to his cell and sob uncontrollably? And let's couple that with the fact that this guy is a con man. I mean, he is a literal con man, arraigned on these charges, which we heard the judge read. Is he going to be able to outsmart these attorneys if, in fact, he testifies?
He will testify tomorrow, and he will not outsmart anybody. I don't think he could outsmart them if the evidence was good on his side, but he has no good evidence on his side.
Yeah. And then, I mean, Margaret, just to add to that. So he says something you're a former prosecutor. As a prosecutor, how do you know how much that proverbial door has swung open to then swoop in and ask really difficult questions? What are you looking for as a prosecutor while he's answering questions?
Well, Brian Walshe is answering questions.
Yeah, and you're
my
the
God.
Commonwealth. Yeah, what are you doing?
And I'm sitting there waiting for cross-examination. It's like I'm sitting before a big Wagyu steak. Oh my God.
I was gonna say chocolate cake, but go ahead. Yeah.
I'd be writing notes like crazy, but also you prepare for cross-examination, anticipating what he's going to say about, like, really, you didn't call 911. What did you do with the body, Brian? So, and again, you've got to be. I'd like to be in his face, bombastic. I'd like to be moving around the courtroom. I mean, this possibly could be the most meaningful cross-examination of somebody's career, right? How often do you get a chance to really cross-examine a defendant like this? It's very, very rare. Somebody that dismembered his wife and the mother of his children. My God.
And
wow.
do you want, Margaret, secretly in the back of your head, and it could very well be the female prosecutor, do you want to try to get him to lose his cool in front of the jury to show that he is unhinged?
Absolutely. Oh my God, that would be great. I'd want to make him unhinged. I would go at this guy tooth and nail. And believe me, I might seem nice, but I have a tough side. I have an evil twin, and I can go after somebody hard.
Yeah.
Do you think this prosecutor will do it? I mean, he's been so buttoned up and so almost monotonal that it's a little hard for me to imagine that he can switch, turn a switch and get the passion in the cross.
I would make a comment about Brian Walsh's feathered 1980s hair, but that's shallow of me. But if I was the prosecutor, I'd go there. Would all sidebar conversations, Joe Pituto, be recorded by the court? Everything is recorded for the record,
yes,
correct?
Because it's part of the trial record, and the fact that we can't hear it or the jury didn't hear it doesn't mean that the judge didn't make a ruling or do something at sidebar on which the defense might want to make use as part of the appeal. So it's all part of the record. It's all taken down. And if you recall from the Donna Adelson's trial, when the defense, for reasons again that I cannot fathom, made that motion after the trial, saying as part of this their list of appealable issues and the bias of the judge, said that he did not give her time to decide whether she was going to testify. And then the judge, in his order denying the motion, appended to it a sidebar he had in the morning after the defense rested, in a long transcript of him saying, I looked up some law last night and I am going to give you another chance to decide, do you want to testify or not? That was in the transcript, a sidebar, and it became part of the judge's order.
A couple more quick questions. I always lie about that. So, Margaret, to you, let's say he's testifying and now he's on cross. Once you are testifying, can he invoke his Fifth Amendment right on a particular question?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine he could, right, Joe? But I got so heated about thinking about cross-examining this guy. I had to take my sweater off. I was cold all morning. Now I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think he's entitled to pick and choose. I assert my fifth on this one, but I'll answer this one.
Yeah. I mean,
what do you think, Joe? I mean, I guess he can. What are you going to do?
I've stumped the professors. My guess is he can't.
I don't think he can either. I think it's all or nothing. Now, the practical question is, if he's up there and refuses to answer, what do you do about it? But at that point, I think, since I don't think he has a right to do it in the first place, that the judge then could permissibly say something about it to the jury. But, he's not going to do it. He's going to get up there and make an idiot of himself. Not that he hasn't already in the way he did this murder.
And Margaret, can we be 100% sure that at some point during this cross-examination, the prosecution, the Commonwealth will ask, where is her body? Where did you put her body? Do they have to ask that question?
I think they do. I don't see a problem. I mean, 100% sure. I hate to answer that question, but I mean, I don't see. I think if he takes the stand, they'd be entitled to ask that question.
Joe, how does he answer that? How does he answer that, Joe?
Go back one step. How is he going to take the stand and explain what happened without addressing what he did with the body? I mean, as his testimony on direct, that would leave a huge hole for the jury. I don't see how we can manage to ignore it completely from the point of view of what he tells the jury his story is.
Yeah, I think he's going to get up and say the whole thing, right? I mean,
but what's his answer going to be to where's the body? I don't remember. I mean, what's he going to say?
He's going to say, I put her in the trash bags and I put her in the dumpster in Abington and it got incinerated. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And won't that be a happy presentation in front of the jury?
I mean, I would hammer home if I'm the and I'm serious about that. Say he didn't put her in one place. He put her in many different places, which is really disturbing because I think
you
he
think
did.
So?
I think so. I mean, that's my theory. But is there someone between the three of you? I bet you there is. You can say in this case for which team, prosecution or defense, you'd give more points. Joe, Commonwealth or defense?
No question, prosecution.
Margaret, Commonwealth or defense?
Prosecution, but they had a lot more to work with.
Yeah, and I'm with them on that. Gunderson here to Margaret. Did Brian plan on losing his phone so he could ask to use Anna's after their friend left, under the guise of using her phone to call to look at her messages and see evidence of the affair? So that's another thing that could lead to premeditation if jurors think that he intentionally misplaced his phone to get a look at Anna's phone.
I mean, it's possible that might be part of the discussion in the jury room, but if you use your common sense, which they're asked to do, we all do misplace our phones. I lose my phone in the house all the time. Maybe you guys don't, but I mean, especially little kids too. I don't know.
That's why I have my Apple Watch. It finds the phone all the time.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you where my phone is right now. Oh, it's in my lap.
But the point is that phone was being turned on and off after it was supposedly misplaced. Now, that seems to me to be pretty strong evidence with regard to premeditation and what his plan might be, because you either have your phone or you don't have it. You're not plugging it in and unplugging it and not having it.
Margaret, to you, in Massachusetts, can jurors ask questions if they have questions?
Yeah, well, they can't ask witnesses any questions, but after deliberation, if they do have a question, they write it out. They let the court officer know we have a question, and they'll write it out, then hand it to the judge. The judge will see the attorneys at sidebar first and tell them what the question is. And then ultimately the question is likely to be read out with the jury there, and the judge will answer it. So we could see questions quite a bit in Massachusetts throughout trials. And it can be something, a lot of times it's the jury will say, we can't remember a certain piece of evidence. Can we listen to the recording again? And very often, or can we listen to a transcript of the police officer's testimony again? And what the judge will say is, you have to use your recollection of what that evidence was.
Look at this. STS singles always in action here. Is Margaret single? She's so pretty. Love the best guests.
Oh, that's
There
so
you go.
sweet. I can't answer that one.
Yeah, we're not asking for an answer. You can invoke your Fifth Amendment right. I'm just I got to start up
That's
STS
cute.
singles.
No, I
Look at
know.
this. And by the way, it is not a tagline. It's our reality. You do have the best guest. Love Margaret, lovely lady. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. You guys are watching law tubers. You need to watch Law Professors and step it
That's
up
right.
here at STS.
Excellent,
I think
I'm
this
getting
was
giddy.
very interesting day. The Commonwealth definitely has these jurors going to sleep, wondering, or maybe not wondering, whether or not Brian Walshe is in fact a killer, maybe thinking that he is. And it might be up to him to save the day for himself tomorrow. But you heard Joe, you heard Margaret say it. It is likely not going to happen. Margaret McLean, she does legal analysis for NBC 10 in Boston, former prosecutor, former civil attorney handling civil cases, arguing in the court, an author, a YouTube channel host of It's a Crime. Margaret, your final thoughts here before we roll out and roll into a very interesting day tomorrow.
Convict him. And tomorrow I'll go to court and text you guys from the courtroom and let you know what I observe, especially if he's testifying. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, please do. Maybe you can hop on at lunch.
Yeah.
We'll get you the
Yeah.
link. Yeah, that'd be great.
I bet you we could figure that out.
Yeah,
I'm getting tech savvy.
we'll make it happen. Yeah. Joe Pituto, everyone will see her at 5:00 today. Someone here is predicting. Do you think Brian will cry up there? We're predicting Waterworks. Joe Pituto, will he shed a real tear? And your final thoughts as we head out tonight.
My picture of him is that he's not going to cry. That would be kind of, I think it would offend his self-image. Excuse me. And so I don't think he's going to cry. I don't know that I have anything to add to this. I think the evidence is really on the Commonwealth side. I don't think the defense did much today to bolster their defense. And in some ways, the I don't know what her name is. I've never known what her name is, but she really helped out the prosecutor with regard to testimony. I guess my final thoughts is this is a bizarre case. It's just a crazy brain that would work this out and do what he did. And my picture of this case when it's over is probably going to be him doing those shopping, not the trash bag tours, maybe probably not even the Google searches, but it's the shopping that he was doing. And in particular, shopping for clothes when he's got to have a closet full of clothes. Why he needed those socks and the pants and things. That's what I will remember of this trial. I will gravitate to the sort of the petty.
Yeah, it is interesting and odd that he is shopping for clothes. This guy was in and out of every store in the Cohasset area. The guy's a shopaholic. The next place he's likely to shop is the commissary. Whatever state prison he is in. But huge thanks to Margaret McLean and Professor Joe Pituto. Check out Prof. Joe Explains at 5. And Margaret, we'll get you back on soon. And Joe, you'll be here tomorrow to watch Brian testify as soon.
I wouldn't miss it for the world.
There we go. On that note, Love you, America. I'll see you on Court TV at 7. I'll see you on Courtroom Confidential at 8. And we'll see you back here at 9 a.m. Be kind. Don't kill anyone.